In this video, we will learn how to find the exact value of a trigonometric function given a special angle in radians. Now, when I say special angle, in degrees, I'm talking about 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 60 degrees, and 90 degrees. In radians, I'm talking about pi over 6, pi over 4, pi over 3, and pi over 2. So these are the special angles that we're talking about. Long ago, you should have memorized 3 critical trig values. The first one was the sine of pi over 4. What's that? 1 over radical 2, you better know, people. And you should have memorized the sine, the sine of pi over 6. What's that? You better know that's 1/2. And you should have memorized the cosine of pi over 6. That is radical 3 over 2. Make sure you've memorized those these 3 critical values. Using those 3 values, you can also write down 3 other core values. The cosine of pi over 4, because it's the same thing, it's also 1 over radical 2. And you can use these to get your pi over 3's. So you can know that sine of pi over 3, and you can know the cosine of pi over 3, because they're the same as sine and cosine of pi over 6, just reversed. So sine of pi over 3 will be radical 3 over 2, and the cosine of pi over 3 will be 1/2. Write this down at the top of your paper or on a sheet of scratch paper at the beginning of any trig assignment, and then use it as reference for the remainder of the assignment. So for number 1, it says tangent theta. They're showing us theta right there, so we are finding the tangent of 13 pi over 4. Well, the tangent of 13 pi over 4 is going to be the same thing as the tangent of pi over 4, which is the reference angle that's right here. Except it might be positive, but it might be negative. All right. In order to know whether or not we need to put a negative sign in front of it, we need to look at the quadrant. And they were kind enough to draw it for us, so we don't have to figure out what quadrant it's in. So, in the third quadrant, is tangent positive or negative? Well, remember that tangent is sine over cosine. So, that means tangent of pi over 4 will be the same thing as sine of pi over 4 over cosine of pi over 4. Now, remember that sine on the unit circle is the y value, and cosine on the unit circle is the x value. So in this quadrant, the x's are negative because we're on the left, and the y's are also negative because we're down low. So we have a negative sine and a negative cosine. Okay, so let's put a negative sign here and a negative sign there. These are values that we wrote down from the start. Sine of pi over 4 and cosine of pi over 4 are both 1 over radical 2. So that means this is going to become 1 over, well, negative 1 over radical 2 divided by negative 1 over radical 2. So of course that is going to give us a positive 1, because a negative divided by a negative is positive. So as you can see, we did not need the negative on the tangent. Alright, number 2. Let's do one more example. Cosecant. This is one of our inverse trig, no, not inverse. This is one of our reciprocal trig functions. Cosecant is the reciprocal of the sine function. Okay, it's 1 over sine theta. So what we're going to do is, let's start by figuring out what the sine of theta is. Alright, let's start by figuring out what's the sine of 7 pi over 6. Whatever the answer turns out to be, we'll just take the reciprocal of that, and that will be our cosecant. Okay, look at the reference angle of pi over 6. So sine of 7 pi over 6 is going to be the same thing as the sine of pi over 6, except for maybe we'll need to put a negative sign on it. Now, they were kind enough to draw the picture for us, so we can just look and see. Since we're in the third quadrant, is sine going to be negative or positive in this quadrant? Well, remember, sine is the sine is the y value on the unit circle. So y values are negative down here. So we're going to have to put a negative on this because sine is negative in the third quadrant. Now, sine of pi over 6 we have memorized. It's right here. We just wrote it down. Sine of pi over 6 is 1/2. So that means we have negative 1/2. Alright? Now, that means, like I said, this is the reciprocal of cosecant. So that means the actual answer for cosecant is going to be negative 2, because we have to take the reciprocal of this. Alright, so that is how you find the value of a trig function at a special angle.